Good evening and welcome to this special edition of CBC News Correspondent. I'm Simon Reeve in London and I'd like you to join me this week for a trip to Central Asia to meet the stands. It's one of the most obscure regions of the world, one we know very little about, but Central Asia is a region that matters. I believe it could be a future flashpoint for the war on terror. That's because it's afflicted by poverty, corruption and despotic regimes, and it has vast oil and gas reserves. So last year I travelled around Central Asia with a crew from the BBC. And tonight, in part 3 of Meet the Stands, we're off to Uzbekistan. Central Asia, once part of the Soviet Union. It's a region dominated by oil, Islam, and enough radioactive waste to terrify the West. China, Russia and America are all vying for power here. The countries are strategically vital. And they're all called Stan. Uzbekistan is the most repressive of the countries we visited. It is run like a feudal system by Islam Karimov, the president since independence. His permission for a US airbase in the country after September the 11th has made him a friend to the West, but at home he is widely feared. We brought Shahida, an Uzbek living in London, out with us so we had a guide who could speak openly about a president whose picture and diktats are everywhere, proclaiming democracy and rule of law for everyone.
I mean, all of them sound like a joke, to be honest, to me.
Right.
Because none of them is true. It's like an imaginary world, dream.
Uzbekistan's economy is in trouble, but one of the few growth industries is personal protection. Rich businessmen do not trust the police, and so turn to private security firms. These men are being trained as bodyguards for Uzbekistan's elite. They're controlled by this woman, a former KGB colonel who lost her job after independence when Russians were purged from state jobs.
I asked her why she left the KGB, and she said that in 1991, when Uzbekistan was established, they basically said to her, you don't speak national language, so basically we don't want you there.
What I find particularly amusing is the former colonel in the KGB is wearing Winnie the Pooh socks.
The place the colonel comes to recruit is the Uzbek wrestling school. Uzbekistan produces many champions of Greco-Roman wrestling.
The guy in blue, which is UZB, Bishop Kariev, he's a champion of Asian Games on Greco-Roman fighting.
It's meant to be a great honour for these sportsmen to represent Uzbekistan, so they are paid a pittance and officially forbidden from taking other jobs.
There was a joke, actually. The guy who was 3-time champion of this Greco-Roman fighting, the first time he became a champion, what happened, he was when he just arrived to Tashkent with his gold medal, he was given keys from the car, but as soon as the cameras left, this key was taken back from him. That's how they treat sports people here.
The colonel then took us to see some of her guards in action. We'd seen the bodyguards, now we wanted to see the sort of people they protect. So we're off to see the most powerful man in Uzbekistan now, who isn't, as you might think, the president of the country.
This is the guy in a blue shirt without the tie.
Salam alaikum. And can we say we're very sorry to keep him waiting? Gafur Rakimov is one of the most controversial men in the country. Although he's a successful businessman with interests ranging from cotton to soft drinks, he He's been dogged by rumours of involvement in organised crime. But no one has produced any evidence to prove this.
Thank you. Please come in.
Wow. Isn't this beautiful?
It's beautiful. It's incredible.
It turns out we weren't the only Brits who have visited the mansion. Mr. Akimov is a keen patron of sports and sponsors the annual Tashkent Tennis Open.
Yeah, he's a winner.
It's a rare occasion when Tim Henman won the competition then.
Странно, что Тим выиграл какое-то соревнование.
After a lengthy feast, Mr. Akimov's entourage showed us a copy of the Australian newspaper from the time he was refused entry into the country. They were keen to show us that their boss was framed and was innocent of all charges.
This document, which they say is forged, reportedly involved in the distribution of counterfeit US dollars in Poland. Also a possibly significant connection with major cocaine smuggling operations. But it's completely untrue.
Yeah.
But this document, this false document, has it caused you problems for your business? Has it caused you personally?
Yeah.
No, but I would like to ask.
Этот документ создал вам проблемы в вашем бизнесе и в вашей жизни.
бизнесе, в жизни.
Yeah, in a business, in a life. Of course, a lot of problems.
Mr. Akimov then decided not to talk to us anymore, worried that being filmed in such opulent surroundings might give people the wrong idea. We left with promises to attend the annual Orphans concert that he sponsors. The problem with repressive regimes is that much of the repression goes on behind closed doors. And on the surface, Tashkent, the capital, appeared a relaxed modern city. But there are clues to the country's darker side everywhere. The president is promoting a new national hero, Amir Timur, the Uzbek version of Genghis Khan.
Before the collapse of the Soviet Union, this square used to be known as Karl Marx Square. And there was a big statue of Karl Marx, actually only his head. And then his head was deleted from the square, and we got the new hero, Amir Timur. He was known as a very cruel person. And putting his statue in the middle of Tashkent and claiming he's a national hero just makes some people a little bit concerned about what will happen in this country, and how are we choosing this guy as our leader, as our hero, where he was so brutal and killed so many people. This is the main street where young people hang around. We call it Broadway. It used to be Karl Marx Street before, but now it's like only Broadway. It's a place where artistic people meet.
Can you ask him if life is better now or was it better under the Soviet Union?
Скажите, пожалуйста. He doesn't know how to answer. He thinks that at the moment it's better.
Dipsy may be happy here, but a mixture of repression and a struggling economy means few others share that optimism.
One of the major problems in Uzbekistan is that everybody wants to get out of the country. They're desperate to leave. And this is quite different to the situation we've found in most of the other Central Asian republics. So we've come here to a marriage agency, a dating agency, which sets up girls here with wealthy Westerners to find out why these people want to get out. Hi. Hiya. How many girls do you have on your books at the agency?
Wow, a lot. 3 big books, a lot of big books.
What are the girls looking for?
They're looking for a good life because they couldn't find the good life here in our country.
Well, I'm just quite interested to know how they view the West and who they're hoping to meet.
I hope to meet a nice person abroad and make my future there, because here there is no future. I really doubt that my daughter will find a job when she graduates from medical school. I don't like the way of life here. Everything is so backward. I lived abroad for 2 years and I can compare.
Oh, there's Ecuador, Belgium, United Kingdom,
Yeah.
USA, Mexico. And what do the guys tend to be like?
very emotional people, very sensitive to my mind, and very funny and with a great sense of humor. This is our lady, Natasha.
She looks a lot younger than him.
Yeah.
Well, they look very happy.
Yeah.
And he looks particularly happy. Well, we're now about to break the law and do something completely illegal in Uzbekistan. For no apparent reason, the government decided to ban snooker and billiards halls and pool just overnight. One day you could play snooker perfectly legally, and people played it across the whole country, and the next day you couldn't. There's no discussion, there's no parliamentary debate.
The parliamentary debate is not possible because Parliament sits only twice a year, the beginning of the year and the end.
But that's the whole point.
What happens in between concerns no one. Public discussion, I mean, what kind of public discussion you want if we don't have even the press? What a waste. God punished me for not abiding the laws of the country.
As promised, the next day we stopped off at the orphans concert, organised by Mr. Akimov. He funds 35 orphanages across the country, housing 3,500 children. Mr. Akimov himself was brought up in an orphanage, as was President Karimov. Some say this is why they are such good friends. Shahida advised me to limit my questions to Mr. Akimov to the orphans concert.
As our president said, president of country said, every man in this country had to do something good. So he's trying to do his best. He said it's not necessary to be so smart to do such simple things.
I still haven't got a clue really about the guy, but it is still fascinating to see how somebody with that much power and wealth operates in a country like this.
The call to prayer, the loudspeakers, were banned, I think, about 8 years ago. And the official reason for that was that they disturbed the neighborhood people. Whereas nobody really complained about it. This is a Muslim country. I think about 80% of the population are Muslims. And the people were really enjoying this loudspeaker call for azan and the prayer.
It's a beautiful sound.
It's a beautiful sound, and I personally like it a lot. And now you can't hear it.
The regime here has an uneasy relationship with Islam. Uzbekistan is a Muslim country, but Islamic militants are secretly battling against the current regime. The terrorist group, the Islamic Movement of Uzbekistan, the IMU, has launched numerous attacks in Uzbekistan. As a result, all mosques are closely monitored, and secret police and informers mingle with worshippers.
Now, there were a couple of guys over there who look like government agents.
The service has already begun, but we know that at the start of every service around the whole country, at the beginning, they praise the President of Uzbekistan. It's a way for him to reinforce his power in every mosque in the country.
The Imam reads a sermon, which, like all others across the country, is based on guidelines supplied weekly by the government to ensure it doesn't include any anti-government sentiment. Government agents listen to make sure the script is followed closely.
I'm trying to keep an eye out for the government agents who are here. There's a few guys down there wearing sunglasses inside. I'm quite suspicious of them. We should probably stay away from asking questions about any sort of political repression and, of course, religious repression as well. Because in Uzbekistan, many thousands of men are held in jail, often without proper trials, usually without proper trials, just for being pious Muslims, for having long beards and for looking vaguely suspicious.
It would be dangerous for the Imam to discuss domestic politics, but he and these Islamic scholars were happy to talk about their travels in the West.
Here we sit and talk for hours, but in the US, when you want to grab somebody for a long conversation, people run away from you. In their culture, it's not acceptable to chat for a long time.
Well, it means they live according to the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, because he said that time is a tricky thing. If you don't use it properly, it will kill you.
So Americans are the true Muslims and not us Uzbeks.
This is the infamous Fergana Valley, home of various old and new radical Islamic groups, including the Islamic movement of Uzbekistan, who was sponsored by Osama bin Laden and fought alongside Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan.
The spiritual leader of the group is now thought to be in Pakistan and trying to get the group going again in preparation for launching more attacks. And everything we're finding in Uzbekistan is that they find a receptive audience for their message out here. I think they get a lot of support.
Juma Namangani, the founder of the IMU, was killed in Afghanistan 2 months after September the 11th. His family still live in the valley. Mr. Amir, a lawyer, agreed to take us to meet them. Anger against the government is growing in the valley because the authorities are tarring everyone with the same brush. Innocent Muslims are rounded up regularly and accused of being members of the IMU.
These arrests became so widespread that now you won't find a single family in the Fergana Valley which doesn't have a relative in jail.
Before his death, Juma Namangani was one of the most notorious Islamic militants in the world. His brother, meanwhile, runs the local sweet shop.
This is the wife of the brother, and she says that they're not allowed to talk to anyone unless they warn the police. And the representative of the police should be during this meeting.
Right. I can't imagine we're going to have a proper chat, but she's trying to give us the ice creams for free.
No, she's saying that it's free because we're guests here. I said, no, we want to pick. No.
So here comes the policeman. Assalamu alaikum. The secret police have just turned up. We're eating ice creams. Assalamu alaikum.
Biz BBC'den, televizyondan, Uzbekistan hakkında film öyle.
The driver's getting worried. He's saying that he thinks we were followed the whole way here from Tashkent, which we suspected. Our human rights representative is lecturing the policeman on the state of the law, and he's sort of quoting arcane bits of law to justify our presence here, and the policeman looks completely bamboozled. He clearly hasn't got a clue. William. Simon. Dima.
Okay, we had the chief of interior for the whole Namangan region.
Who turned up very quickly.
Yeah, and he was very
suspiciously quickly. And then we had security police, then we had police, then we had the water board.
No, then we had the representative of local administration who happened to live in this area.
What a coincidence!
Exactly, and he said, "Oh, do you have any problems? Do you have anything to do with the local administration?" And we said, "No, thank you very much. You can go."
You can go on your way.
And he's still here.
As we were finally ushered in to meet the brother, there was one more surprise. Waiting for us was not his brother, but Juma's nephew, who fought alongside his uncle in Afghanistan.
What happened to his uncle after his uncle fought in Afghanistan?
He died in November 2001 in Afghanistan, I know that for sure. I saw the body.
And he is one of the few men we've met in the Fergana Valley who aren't in jail.
I believe the reason is that our esteemed president issued a decree saying that anyone who has fallen into the IMU by mistake, who hasn't killed anyone, and who is sincerely sorry and admitted his guilt, these people are to be pardoned.
I can't quite understand why his nephew isn't either in Guantanamo Bay or a Uzbek prison, quite frankly, or dead, because he's a self-admitted member of the IMU, Islamic Movement of Uzbekistan, which was headed by his uncle Jumanam Ghani, who was one of the most wanted men in the world.
The nephew's mother told me that they came to her house and told him about you guys and brought him to talk to you.
The security forces ordered the nephew
to show up to meet us. So he wasn't there just wandering around.
Very interesting.
We left the valley, where the government's control is at its tightest, and headed north, hoping to find people more able to talk. It looked promising when we were invited to a concert with the country's biggest pop star. But we were about to discover that not even music in Uzbekistan is free from the president's influence.
You're going to see the most popular singer in Uzbekistan for the last 20 years, I'd say. She's really a pop singer. She sings Uzbek songs, but in a very refined way. And actually, she's the only one maybe in Uzbekistan who speaks to people.
Like a true star. Very restrained entrance. I was expecting you to come in a limo.
Welcome to Uzbekistan.
Valduz Osmanova is no ordinary pop star. She's also an MP. But at one of her concerts, she spoke out against the government. As a result, it became illegal for any radio station to play her records. But so strong is her public appeal, the government was forced to back down after a year of blacklisting her.
I think that if there are free elections in this country and she kind of stands, the candidate, I think she has a good chance to get maybe 30% of the vote.
We'll ask her if she's going to run.
Oh, no, bad. Don't
do that?
Never ask this question from anyone in Uzbekistan who is more or less public figure.
Funny how all the police and soldiers have managed to bring their kids with
She was crying at one point. One of the songs moved her so much. You knew the one?
About mother.
Oh.
Our mother.
Talking openly about politics here is not advisable. All right, well, tell us about this struggle for basic rights, because I think you're also a politician as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so? Well, tell us about your political... You're a member of Parliament?
Yep.
And what area do you represent, and how does that fit in with the singing work?
It's difficult. It's really
But we know you have a lot of energy.
But you know, and politically, I'm honest person, you know. In political, it's so dangerous. Be honest, you know.
Is this why you had to go into exile, because you were saying things in your songs?
I don't know really what. Maybe in song, maybe it's I have big mouth sometimes, you know. Maybe that's why.
Do you feel you have restrictions on you now, on what you can say, on what you can sing about?
Yeah, I can feel it inside, but
You know you have to be careful.
I know it.
Whoa. The ancient Silk Road that ran from China to Europe cuts straight through Uzbekistan. There are still a few traditional silk weavers plying their trade, with skills passed down through generations.
Do you think we may have actually found the first presidential fan in the entire country? Because he seems to actually genuinely like him.
Yeah, for the reason probably.
Yeah.
Maybe he's one of the few.
You see, I think those carpets are popular so people can express dissent by walking on his face.
Well, we are not in Iraq yet.
What they do is they boil them to kill off the bug, kill off the worm without damaging the silk, and then under here, there you go, it's holding on already. He's got one there, that's the thread. I don't know if you can see it there.
From the killed worm, you can do soap.
You make soap from the dead worm.
You can. Dead worm,
Dead worm.
You can make soap. Plus, you can use this, the cover, to do food for chickens.
Ow. It really burns the fingers as it passes through. I'm going to have to see his fingers after this because it's really... Oh! Let's check I haven't destroyed his wheel. And,
Yeah, that's it.
oh, no, hang on, it's come to the end, that's why. No, the problem's here. You see? I'm already learning what to do.
The next day, we broke our journey at a local restaurant. The dancing was in honour of some students who had just graduated from high school. When they found out we were from the BBC, we got roped into the proceedings. As we headed north, we passed through a Kazakhstan enclave in Uzbekistan, one of numerous enclaves throughout the region that confuse and infuriate the locals. In 1924, there were no Stans countries, until Stalin set about dividing and conquering the local tribes. 80 years on, his seemingly arbitrary borders have left lasting tensions between the new states.
Say people come here to shop, but before they have to bribe the policeman, so you think the police, Uzbek police, would allow you to cross, to get into the enclave.
This Uzbek woman buys crockery here and sells it back in Uzbekistan proper, if she can get past the border guards.
She's saying, okay, it's easy to get in, to get out, it's very difficult. They're not going through official border posts. They're going through the cotton fields. They're bypassing the border posts. Otherwise, if customs see them, they will confiscate everything.
While here, the Uzbek and Kazakh seem to trade in relative harmony, relations between the two countries' presidents are not so good.
Well, the relationship between the two presidents have been very, very controversial since the very beginning, because both presidents claim to be regional leaders. And there are constant rows between them. There was a very bad period just 3 years ago where people claim, just gossips, dirty gossips, that they had physical fight, but no one can prove it. She's spreading it on people, so people would have good trade, you know, good luck and everything. Kazakh economy is doing much better. There are lots of Uzbeks fleeing to Kazakhstan to find a job there. Kazakhs used to come to work in Uzbekistan, not Uzbeks were going there. And Uzbeks were viewing Kazakhs in a very arrogant way. We even have this saying, you know, if Uzbeks want to say, "Are you stupid?" they're saying, "Are you Kazakh?" Like, you know. So now we are being stupid, and now Kazakhs are making jokes about us.
The arbitrary borders affect more than just traders. The ancient city of Samarkand in the north of the country is populated almost entirely by Tajiks, but was given to Uzbekistan as part of Stalin's divide and conquer program.
The dominant language here is Tajik. But you cannot really say that, okay, this should belong to Tajikistan or to Uzbekistan. I think we all have to share it. It's all our historical heritage.
So how are you sharing it then?
Well, at the moment, not well, to be honest, provided that even the borders between two countries are closed. But I think in future we really have to come to understanding that it's all ours.
The Emperor Amir Timur, the man whose statue we'd seen in Tashkent, took this city as his capital in the 14th century after conquering most of Central Asia. These great buildings were religious schools he and his ancestors built to spread the word of Islam.
The first time I came to Samarkand, I was 14 years old, and I fell in love with the city straight away. No matter how many different countries I visited, I still love the city. I think this is the most favorite city of all I've seen.
They're very kindly allowing us to go down and have a look at the actual site where Amir Timur is buried, which is a privilege if you were allowed.
There is a legend or a myth that the one who will open the grave of Amir Timur, then the terrible fate will fall onto the nation and the great war will erupt. There were Russian scientists who came from Moscow and St. Petersburg. Basically, the grave was opened in the evening of 21st of June 1941, and then the elderly people came to those scientists and showed them in the books that you cannot do this, otherwise the war will start. And in the morning of 22nd of June 1941, Germany invaded the Soviet Union.
Rita,
Huh?
why have we got a policeman escorting us out?
Well, because it's not allowed to go up to the minaret, but we kind of agreed that he will help us. We'll just pay a little bit of money, and he will take us up.
Well, you're bribing a public official, Shahida.
Well, the government should pay enough to public officials for them not to take any bribes and do something illegal.
Having bribed the policeman, we went through a secret door behind a carpet store and headed towards one of the famous minarets.
Okay, be very careful.
Okay.
Yep.
I see light ahead.
Coming down's going to be fun.
Oh. Well, I better stick here.
Central Asia has always been a crossroads between East and West. It was here in Samarkand in the 14th century that Chinese traders met Spanish merchants and globalization began.
It's sour yogurt, but it's not cow's milk, it's goat's milk. Organic. What do you think? Is it better than in Kyrgyzstan?
No, that's really horrible. That's really horrible. It's got the consistency of a billiard ball. And it tastes disgusting.
Kidding me? It's wonderful. Cultural differences.
The other ancient treasure given to the Uzbeks by Stalin, to the anger of the majority Tajiks here, is the city of Bukhara. Well, look how lucky we are. We thought the weather was going to be bad, but the
sky is such a gorgeous blue, and this looks amazing.
And the God has heard your prayers for the good weather.
You think?
Well, it's a holy city.
The holiest city.
It's the holiest city in Central Asia. They don't know the secret of this color, how it was made. And they have very big problems during the restoration works. They were trying to approach it and they were somewhere close to it. But you know, the new color, it cannot stay as long as that one. And people say that probably one of the reasons it stays for centuries is that because they mix it with human blood.
This tower's had a checkered history. It used to be used for executions, and people who annoyed the local ruler or who committed a crime were dragged up here in a sack and then thrown off the top. People used to gather down below to watch the blood seeping out onto the stones. See, it's still used for executions.
The big domes, inside the speaking big imam, inside the people's many.
So people before electronic microphones, people could be at this end, and they could still hear the imam at the end because the small, how many domes are the small domes?
208.
208.
Yeah.
And the noise, the sound would echo all around the building.
Yeah.
Very clever.
Fortune-telling is frowned upon by Islam, but even in the holiest of cities there are those practicing the ancient art. She's looking for my future in the pages of the Quran.
She's saying that you are a very genuine and sincere person, a person with an open heart, with no hidden thoughts.
Lekin xohlamayapsiz. Sizga katta yo'l mana. Bu ikkinchi marta borib kelgandan keyin ana bu ko'yishdi.
Well, she said somebody proposed me recently and I refused.
She said that somebody proposed to you and you refused.
Yeah, but it's true.
It's true?
Yes.
Wow.
You cannot take their words literally, to be honest.
What are you saying? I thought that was the whole idea. What's the point in coming to a fortune teller if you can't take their words literally?
Well, it's not like straight, it's not that straightforward.
What do you mean it's not? You go to see a fortune teller to find out your fortune and what will happen in the future.
They're telling you the directions.
Oh, I see.
What people say is that they have bad angels and good angels. So bad angels, they kind of reveal your history, your background. But most of the fortune tellers cannot say exactly what will happen to you in the future. Because what Islamic people say, it's because only part of your future is revealed to your bad angels, and not everything, because only God knows, and no one else what will happen to you in the future.
I think part of what makes Bukhara so special is just the sheer tranquility of the city. I mean, we're here in this amazing space, and there's hardly anybody here, which is great if you're a visitor, but obviously not so good for the Uzbek economy. I'm just interested to know whether you're generally optimistic about the future or generally pessimistic.
Well, I am pessimistic. I understand that sooner or later, if the country's problems are not going to be addressed by the government, then we'll have a potentially very dangerous conflict in Uzbekistan, which will spread out around the whole Central Asia.
I can only hope that the future looks a bit brighter than it appears at the moment.
We say inshallah.
Inshallah.
Some things are beyond our powers, although we have to try hard.
Things have changed since my visit to Uzbekistan, and not for the better. Suicide bombers have launched a series of attacks across the country, killing scores of people. As I originally feared, Islamic militancy is growing, most likely in response to Uzbekistan's support for the United States and internal repression. President Karimov maintains his grip on power by imprisoning and torturing his opponents. According to a UN report last year, torture in Uzbekistan is systematic. The opposition, meanwhile, is excluded from elections, and even the Open Society Institute, funded by the democracy campaigner George Soros, has been expelled from the country. Public discontent is growing in Uzbekistan, and the people are increasingly challenging their government. Just a few weeks ago, several thousand people rioted to protest against new trade restrictions imposed by the government.
And it tastes disgusting.
Kidding me? That's wonderful.
Cultural differences.
But there's been good news for Shahida, the exiled Uzbek who returned to her country and showed me around. She now works for the BBC, and we've spent the past 6 months filming a new television series about breakaway states and unrecognised nations. There's more about that programme and the stands on our website, cbc.ca/correspondent. You can write to us by email or via the website. Thanks for watching. I'm Simon Reeve. Good night.